Go ahead, Milena.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HiSea webinar on how aquaculture can benefit from high-resolution water quality data services. We will start with the coordinator of the project, Dr. Ghada El-Serafi, who is a specialist of data assimilation, data sciences, and applied informatics from Deltares. She will introduce the HiSea project, the services, and the partners who build those services for you. Next, Mr. Nikos Katribouzas, who is a genetic and R&D manager of the Nairos Selonda Andromeda companies. He will present the use cases. This presentation will be followed by live demonstration presented by Mr. Pedro Galvao, who is the technical leader building the platform from HydroMod. Between each use case, we will have a 4 to 5 minute question session using Mentimeter. Mentimeter is an online tool which will help us to collect your feedback on the HiSea services and get fast responses from you. You can participate via your mobile phone or laptop. There is no need to download any application. A link to the pool and a code to access it will be shared in the chat for my colleague. Results will be visualized in real time, and we are willing to share them with you. Then we will invite you to the most important part, which is the roundtable discussion that will be led by Dr. Julie McGuire, who is the research director from Bantry Marine Research Station. It will be an opportunity for you to ask questions, comment, and give us your input, which will guide us in our development. We are very excited that you are all here. Thank you for joining. This webinar will be recorded and shared. Please make sure you are all on mute and the chat is at your disposal during the webinar. Thank you. Ghada?
Thank you all for joining this times of the year and in this difficult time. So I really appreciate your presence. I'm going to be presenting to you the HiSea project, and then I would leave the floor to all kinds of technical details to our colleagues. So Anna, please can you share your screen? I'm sorry, I cannot share the screen myself. I'm not really sure if you see the presentation. Yes, okay. So thank you. The HiSea project is a Horizon 2020 project that would develop and test and demonstrate the information for specific sectors. We are targeting actually 2 sectors, but here we are going to be talking about the aquaculture industries. We are targeting also the ports industry, and we would like to present those services, as Milena said, to actually specific questions and test cases that we have identified. Next, please. The objective of HiSea is really to provide the high resolution products that we are targeting for different marine activities, not only in hindcast mode, but in an operational mode. And it uses the novel Copernicus data and satellite information merged with high resolution models, and to present this in an operational status or mode. Why it is different, or the novelties that we are offering within these services, is that this is the co-designed with users. So we are not as a bunch of scientists sitting down and discussing what is relevant to the sector without feedback, but we are actually having the partners with us at the table. We are designing co-designing this service with the user, and this is where we are having the feedback from our partners and then a wider community of practice that would allow us to present services that is of a benefit to the sector. So we are presenting those services to you to be able to get the feedback and to incorporate this feedback in the services for a next round. We are providing high resolution data and on the water quality at sea. This is really not only temperature and salinity, we are also providing, we will be providing dissolved oxygen among others that are relevant for the sector. What is real benefit in that or novelty in that this would allow the operation and planning and management of marine activities to improve, because we are providing also information on uncertainties and probabilistic forecasts within those services. Next, please. I'm going to go through this in a very fast manner. There are plenty of details here, but what I would like to highlight is that we are using not only, as I said, remote sensing, but we are merging and integrating coastal and marine other monitoring data, in situ measurements, and from European databases to facilitate the observation and the monitoring of the environment around a certain specific area. So we are using this data not only from monitoring purposes, but also for forecasting. Then we are having high resolution model in place, validated through the in situ measurements to provide the services and the forecasting capability of the system. As I said, the most important thing of it all is the fast provision of data in the format that is required by the user in the way and the speed the user would like to have it. And this is the benefits for the sector. Next, please. The co-design process, I have to highlight it because this is very important and essential for us, is in this provision of services, we are putting the user in the center of the implementation and the whole implementation of the service circle and shape. So we first discuss with the users at hand being partners in the consortium, and we formulate some of the services relevant. You are going to be seeing some of the business cases, we call it, or test cases, or service modules. Those are going to be shown here, defined with them, and then at a certain moment we went to a bigger community or a wider community, took the feedback from them, and this is an iterative process that we are always working with throughout the whole project. The idea is, again, to provide services that feed or answer the questions that you have. Next, please. I have to stress or highlight actually that without your expertise and skill and experience, we cannot achieve what we are wanting to achieve. So what we are expecting from you? We just need actually your help and support and feedback in what is relevant to your sector. How can we make our services that are building blocks to answer the questions and to help you and support in the operation, in the daily work that you do? So how can we do that? We have to identify the key questions of your interest. We have to collect the feedback. So please provide us with this feedback, and then we improve on the implementation. It would be really great if at the end of the line that you can test the platform. We can help you and support you in that in so many ways. If you can test the platform, if it answers the questions that you have, or if it is relevant for your uptake at a certain moment, that would be really great. Also, if we are setting up the service in a certain pilot, it would be excellent, of course, and essential to provide data that we can validate the service with. Next, please. Next, please. So, if we are able to get the feedback and if we are able to have this communication line open and we can work together towards that, so what would be the benefit? The benefit is that you are going to be getting a service that is adjusted to your own needs. It's going to be in your favor in, for example, optimization of farming activities and planning, the feeding rate, the fish, it would improve the fish growth. Schedule can also help in scheduling the harvesting, having alerts on anticipate low water quality events or even for specific events of crisis management. So this is the actual practical benefits. Of course, by having information beforehand, you can have the financial benefit would decrease the costs by using the service. So in that sense, there are plenty of financial benefits and also optimization of the operational forecasting system. That would be also beneficial for reducing the feed waste, for example, or having to deal with fish disease outbreaks. Next, please. For a wider benefit, of course, I cannot tell you more that we are targeting the blue economy. We are targeting sustainable aquaculture sector, the blue growth strategy. So we are feeding our actually knowledge and ways forward to the whole sector, not only to just service provision. So it is going also to help and facilitate the licensing and the certification and the talks with the EU. In general, they are aware, of course, it's a European project, they are aware of this and they have seen actually the benefits already for the environment and also for a bigger society and a sustainable aquaculture. They support our project. So I cannot stress more the benefit that we are going to be having when we get your feedback, when we have this communication line open, and when we have this interaction between, it's not you and us, among us, I would say. So please help and support by providing at least the feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra, Gada, for this short introduction. I will now share a link to Mentimeter. In the chat. So if you can please go to menti.com and type the following code A242689. We can start collecting your feedback. I would like to also say that Mentimeter is completely anonymous, so it allows us to collect feedback, but we cannot really track you. And if you feel not confident to answer, so please don't do that. We will start with few questions to get to know what are your needs. And also, as soon as you enter in Mentimeter, if you can push the heart button that you will see, we will also see how many people are voting. Okay, I see that 28 people are already voting. I'll give you a few more minutes. Okay, next, let's move on. We would like to know which organization type are you from? I see that some people are answering in the Q&A box in GoToWebinar. You can use your phone to connect to Mentimeter, but also you can use your web browser. You don't need to download anything, so it would be convenient for us if you can also type in Mentimeter. And to get to know better, but also to get to know what are your needs, we would like to know which parameters do you usually measure. We have 3 different main options: weather forecast, hydrodynamic, which include current speeds and direction or waves, water quality, which includes chlorophyll, nutrients, pH, oxygen, all the above or none of them. Well, it's interesting to see that almost all of you or half of you are using all the parameters that we are mentioning. And also we would like to know how much does it cost you per site to measure these parameters. It can be a rough estimation, of course. Nice, I see that already some people are using Earth observation. Other in situ measurements. And which kind of company is furnishing you this information? For example, outsourcing, institution, or partners from other projects? Next, we would like to know how often would you like to access these data? And last, we would like to know what are the parameters that you would like to monitor. We include some hydrodynamic parameter like significant wave height or current speed and direction, but also water quality parameter like suspended matter, chlorophyll, oxygen concentrations. Okay, thank you all for participating. This was the first round, so I can leave the floor now to Pedro, to Nikos.
Hello, everybody. Do you see my screen?
Can you make it full screen, Nikos?
Yes. So, my name is Nikos. I'm representing in the project Selonda. I'm working in aquaculture for 26 years now, mostly in bass and bream. And I'm gonna to make an introduction of our business cases. So, what are the questions? The questions we would like to answer. We would like to answer questions about can we have a reliable wave and wind forecast and alerts for our sites? Can we use water quality parameters to improve farm performance? Is this site a good site for production of fish or shellfish or seaweed? Can we have algal bloom forecasts and alerts? So these are the things we are aiming to build with your collaboration. And what's the reason of this webinar? We want to demonstrate the available tools and customization that we can do. And the most important thing is we want to get the feedback from the end users about what do you need, what data are important for you, how do you want to view the data, and all this is aiming in order to develop a better version of the services that fit the needs of the producers. This is the main focus of the meeting of today. And before we continue, I would like to tell you that we are validating data from all sources, like remote sensing and modeling versus in situ measurements. It is important for us to know what we give you to see is close to reality. So some examples of validation is temperature, wave height, chlorophyll, turbidity, and there is many others that we are currently working on. And Pedro later is going to show you also more validation data, but here you can see a validation of temperature. So black line is real data from sensors in the farm, and the purple line is data from a model that comes from satellite images. And you see that it's very close, so we can rely on this data. Here we have high resolution satellite image of chlorophyll, and on the left screen you see where it is located, and here in the bar you see how much chlorophyll we have, and on the right screen you see a correlation. On the x-axis is in situ measurements of chlorophyll, and on the y-axis it's the satellite measurements, and the R square is 0.8, so it's very close to what we measure. And the good thing here is that the satellite can give you the data without deploying any sensor. The next is also coming from a satellite, and this is turbidity estimation in the same area. Again, on the left screen, you see the satellite image and the scale, the color scale of turbidity. And on the right screen, you see in situ measurements on the x-axis and the satellite data in the y-axis, and the R square is 0.7. So we can predict, or we can see without deploying sensors what's the turbidity in our site. And you see also the resolution is 10 meters, so it's a high resolution models with a high accuracy. So that's from my side. More to come from the introduction of the business cases that Pedro will do. We're going to show you business cases related to farms in Greece and farms in Bantry Research Station, and also we have two cases of Portugal of inland farming. That's it from my side.
Okay, thanks, Nikos. So, morning, everyone. My name is Pedro Galvão. I play the tech lead role at Hidromod, one of the partners of the HiSea Consortium, and I have the privilege of giving you a quick tour of the HiSea platform. Like it was stressed by the presenters before me, this is not a production-ready software, so we are building the software in the open. So please feel free to give us your comments about what's useful and what's not, so that we can end with a better end product. I have about half an hour to do the presentation, and I'll try to do it mostly hands-on because it's quite a stretch of time. But I have a couple slides just to get things started about what were the goals for the platform and what we are trying to achieve. So sorry, let me just, okay, so the first thing that we wanted to do with the platform is that there are a lot of data out there from programs such as Copernicus. The partners here in the project are generating data. There are sensors on site. There's a big data is something that more and more is available. But what we really wanted to do was to build something of a pipeline that can filter this data out and make it easy for end users to take advantage of it. So the platform itself connects to public and private data. Some of the data can be generated by partners in the project. Other can be public, other can come from sensors. All of this is compatible with the platform. We put a big effort on keeping data safe, and I'll just show you a quick example of how we accomplish this. We wanted it to be scalable in the way that you can start with a basic implementation, and as you start feeling comfortable or as you have extra data, you can start putting it into the system. We want it to be flexible, which is something I'll discuss in just a minute, and we wanted to try also to keep maintenance costs as low as possible. So how did we build it? Well, this is a bit of a techie slide, and I really don't want to go too much into detail about it, but I think it's important that you have an idea that everything in the platform is under an authentication and authorization system. This means that even though the whole back end of the platform is just one, if you upload your data there, it's your data, it's safe. It's just like Gmail. You cannot, all the Gmail are in the same service, but you cannot access other people's email without having the correct password. So everything in the system is separated. And then below the authentication system, we have a way to acquire data into the system. I think this is one of the strong points also of the platform. I'll show you in just a while how we can connect to multiple data sources. And once data is acquired, it can get stored internally, or we even have the option of keeping data in a separate system. So the platform just points to the end user system. Of course, this has advantages and disadvantages, and we can talk a bit about that later on. The next service is data processing. So this is what generates new data inside of the system. For instance, Deltares is implementing a high-resolution hydrodynamic model for Greece, and that model itself will run inside of the platform. So you can upload something as complicated as Delft 3D, or you can just calculate indexes and do simpler calculations over the data that was either acquired or indexed by the system. We also have some on-demand processing. I won't be demonstrating this part today, but you can actually run the calculation. Well, actually, we will show something close to on-demand processing, but it's when the end user triggers the calculation process. There's also reporting service and alarm, and so all of these services run in the backend. It's cloud enabled, so we're using those containers and that sort of stuff that I won't go into detail. But this allows us to try and keep costs as low as possible while having a system that is scalable. I think this slide is important because it represents the different type of data that you can have in the platform. All of them have advantages and disadvantages. The first one is public data. For instance, data that comes from Copernicus or Copernicus Ivy or whatever. All of this data is already in the platform. So it's either downloaded or indexed. We are taking advantage of the DS program. So this allows us to keep the costs for this data very low, in the sense that it's public, it's already there. So if you use the platform with this data, you're just using pretty much visualization and data gathering tools. And it's just, the platform there is just a way to help you consume this information in a way that it's streamlined. The second one is the platform data. For example, custom model. I'll show you also some satellite imageries that are produced by partners in the project like Argans. This of course has an added cost because it has added value. So there is of course a trade-off. So it has a bigger cost, but it also has higher resolution. And the end example there is for user data. So the platform can also connect to users, and they can either choose to upload data to the platform or keep them in their own system. Of course, if you upload to the platform, there's a fee for storing it. If you keep it in your own system, it means that you need to have a system that we can connect to. So it needs to be open, and storing the data is completely up to you. But we offer both solutions. So that's all in the back end. It's all that technical stuff that no one really wants to see. We just want it to work. But then we also have a problem in the front end. So the project HiSea is for Aquacultures and port. So just there you see that building a front end that is the same for both these use cases is complicated. And then we have some fish farms are in land, others are on the water, use cages. So building just one front end would be I think pretty much useless. So we try to build something that is configurable. We have this concept of a site manager, and then with this site manager we can create separate sites and select which data goes into each site. And then inside each site you can even configure your own dashboard. A dashboard is pretty much just a web page with some gadgets on it that allows you to show information in a way that is meaningful. Okay, so I hope that wasn't too long and that I haven't lost too many attendees. But I'll move on to the demo. The first demo I wanted to do was to show this feature of how you compose the website. So all of this is the famous site manager. This is like back office. It's only for people with higher administrative privileges. So you can see we have several websites created here. And I have here a test project that I'm going to go into just to illustrate that it's empty, but you can create a dashboard. And then in the dashboard, you can select between multiple widgets. So you have line charts, bar charts, maps, candlesticks. There are even some gadgets which are full screen that I'll be demonstrating later on. But then you can just add it to the site. So you have it here, and then you can just drag and drop it and customize the site to a way that you see fit. All the websites that I'm going to show next were built using this idea. So if you are the administrator of one of these sites, you can go there and just create a new web page very easily and streamline the information that you want into it. So having said that, I'll start by going here to all the projects that we have created, and I'll start with data here for HiSea Greece. So this is one of the use cases that we are working with Salonda. I'll just go in here, and I usually like to start off with this demonstration, because when we started this project, for me, when I thought of satellite imagery, I usually would associate with something like this. So this comes from the Copernicus program. We are looking at light extinction coefficient, and it's quite amazing that we get these images for free. So the platform here is simply collecting public data. But of course, when we try to apply this at the scales that we are talking about, so if we zoom in here, if we zoom in here, you can see that the fish farms is located here, and the closest pixel that we get from the satellite imagery is quite far away. This of course happens because farms of course are close to land, and when you process the satellite imagery, the signal from water and land is quite different, so you need to apply a mask if you want to do these calculations. And of course the mask is at least the size of the pixels, so it's quite large, and then you end up taking out large portions of data. So this is what's available, but here in the HiSea, our partner Argans is supplying much higher resolution data. So I'm changing here, sorry, let me just change here from RGB to chlorophyll. So if we just zoom in, you can see that this is the kind of satellite imagery that currently is available in the platform. What we are looking at is one of those dashboards that I mentioned earlier on. So this is just a gadget. I'm using it as an example, but it could be integrated to a much more complicated dashboard. You can extract data at any point. You can see, for instance, that there was a height value of chlorophyll here on October 17th. So if we just move here to October 17th, you can see, maybe I selected the wrong, change here to turbidity, should give us a better, well, like I said, it's still not production ready. Let me just refresh it. Change here again to fulfil. Small bug there. But again, extracting data in the point. So it was October 7th. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong date. So October. Okay, so that's better. You can see that, of course, this is a much noisier image, so you can maybe discard that point. But this is the sort of satellite imagery that is available in the platform. This was, of course, related to water quality, and we also are gathering data from all the forecast models. So again, looking at Marine Copernicus, they have water quality models running in the Mediterranean. So this is for, it says undefined, but this is I believe it's chlorophyll. So they run it for large areas, but of course, when you zoom into the kind of scales that we are working on, it's just not useful. In this case, in the platform for this area, the Altares is implemented a high resolution model. This one will run inside the platform. So we are looking at water quality here, so we can provide a higher accuracy, both temporally and spatially. Of course, having all of this data is useful, but the goal of the platform itself is to make it useful. And while looking at maps, it's quite impressive. Working on every day, this is not what you want to waste time doing. So you want to get things done. So we programmed here something called a site manager, just to show that you can have multiple gadgets in one dashboard, and you can compose these as you see fit. This is what we call a dynamic dashboard. So if we look down here, this is one of the sites. Oops, sorry, zoom, and there's another one up there. So if you, for instance, you are measuring both and you are worried with wave height or water temperature, you can very easily change from one to the other, all in the same dashboard, and it changes both the alarms and the charts that you are looking. So you can imagine that it's relatively easy to compose a large set of these dashboards that help you deliver data to the people who are running the operation. I have an extra slide here about validation, but I'll show validation in another one of the sites. So for now, I'm going to return to the projects tab. And I don't know if you want to do the Mentimeter now or if I should continue.
Yes, we can do the Mentimeter now.
No.
So for those who just arrived, if you can go to menti.com and insert the code A242689 that you can find also in the chat. we will use Mentimeter to collect some feedback on the demo. And we would like to know, what do you think of the demo in terms of functionalities of the platform, and mainly in terms of visualization of the data? You can vote from 1 to 5 if you find it easy to use or not. And if you like the way the data are visualized, or for example, if you would like to choose or define the way of the data are visualized, which means that you can choose the charts or the type of maps that you are looking at in the platform. Okay, I will move next. If you use the information presented in the HiSea case, how much money per year do you spend to receive or measure this information, which include both satellite images, as Pedro shown, but also model output? And how much money would you be willing to pay per year for the HiSea services that Pedro just presented?
Anna, I don't think the slide has changed in the Mentimeter.
Do you have the go to next slides on the upper part or not? I will move next then, and we see if it is working. Our next question is, what would you like to change to get a more valuable service? Can you see it? If not, you can also, okay, I see that there are some questions coming in. I will go back to the previous slides and see if it is working now. Can somebody confirm if you can see the question? How much money per year would you be willing to pay for these HiSea service? Okay, if not, we can close this first round of questions, and I leave the floor again to Pedro for the second demonstration webinar.
Okay, thank you very much. And so I'll continue. Oops, just a moment. Let me share the webcam. Just a moment. Changing screens. Okay, so the second demonstration that we've set up has a use case. It's of course still ongoing. It's here on Bantry Bay, and this is just another one of the gadgets that shows how you can include point sampling data into the platform. So most people have water sampling. So these are made with campaigns. So someone goes out to the field and fills up a bottle of water. And then this data sometimes gets stored in database. Sometimes it doesn't get stored anywhere. And you can include it here in the system. And the advantage you have is that you can then include it in all of the reports or in all of the dashboards. So this would be it's just a gadget to exemplify how you can do this. So say this is one of the points, all of this data is mock. So here I need to stress out that this is not actual measurements, but once you've sampled it, it gets stored in the location. You can associate it with an area or with a point. And all the data gets stored in the system in a way that you can then backtrace it, and you can even include the field reports that are associated with it. So you can easily come here and then backtrack into which report did the data come from. Another option you also have here, you can download the data, upload it. But an interesting feature you have is that if you have PDF reports with your data, you can simply upload it into the platform by just dragging and dropping the file here. I deleted the report I had here, but once you place it here, it gets inserted into the system and all of the data gets associated with the correct locations. So if you have just Excel files or PDF files running around and you want to put them into the system, it's something that it's easy to do. Here also on Bantry Bay, there were some questions about algae blooms and toxic algae blooms, and Plymouth's Marine Laboratory has a data set for algae. So this is done from satellite, and it gives you three species of algae. Of course, again, it's a coarser resolution, but it gives you an idea of if some possible toxic algae is present close to the zone. So again, this is a public data set that's being included into the platform. This, of course, can be replaced by high resolution data sets. So this is the data that Argans is supplying. Of course, again, high resolution data that you can then extract and show in either the reports or the dashboards. I still haven't demoed the reports. I've mentioned them 2 or 3 times, but I'll get to them in one of the next demonstrations. Of course, this is all hindcast or nowcast data, so you cannot look into the future. In terms of forecast, EB and the Marine Institute in the UK provide data sets for this area. But of course, once again, there is the issue of resolution. But all of this data is already in the platform and can be used to trigger alarms or be plotted into charts and gauges. Another feature that was discussed was the possibility to use these data sets to test farm locations. To do this, this is one of the tools that is still that we are still working heavily on. So what it does is it gathers the reanalysis of long-term. In this case, we are only doing it for wave models, but it could also be done for current, and also compile all of the satellite imagery. And so what we get here, I'll just select one of the data sets from NOAA. And so what you can do is just go to one of the locations. Just zoom out a little bit. This, of course, is a coarse resolution model, so it has the exact same problem that we discussed in the previous demo. When you start getting too close to land, you need a finer resolution model. But this tool itself doesn't really care, so it's possible to run a reanalysis with higher accuracy for any of these locations and then run the tool again. So what you can do there is just select a point and ask for the system to give you all of the weather conditions that were registered in that point in a long time frame. So here you can see we have data from 1979 up until 2009. I'll just do a smaller extract so that it's not, so that we don't have to wait too long. So I'll just put here a year. And now the system will go and extract all of these data sources into a report that we can then download. It takes a little bit of time because, like I said, this is one of the tools that we are currently working on. So let's just wait for a little longer. There's also no progress here. Again, like I said, this is still not production ready, but the tool should be about finishing about now. Okay, so we'll just let it running, and I'll continue with the demo and get back to it once it's finished. I'll go next. Oh, so it was waiting for me to say that. So now it just finished. I'm just going to put it here in the desktop so we can just have a look at it. And so here it is. So what it gives you is this report, which of course can be customized. It tells you the data set that it extracted, and in this case, it got us wave height, peak wave period, wind direction, wind intensity. So it just pretty much created a data set of about a year. Let's see here with this data. So I'm selecting here the wave height. So if I just plot it quickly, it just extracted a year of data of wave height for that particular location. So this was one of the ideas of the partners. So this would allow you to easily compare two sites, whether it's an actual site or a possibility of a site. So like I said, for now it's just waves and some weather data, but we can extend it to include other data sources. So going back here, the project. We have two more examples, which are a bit different because these are current projects that are ongoing here at Hidromod, and we thought that it would be a good idea to try and apply this tool to those clients and see if we can bring some added value to it. So the first one is Aquinova. Aquinova is an inland fish farm, so it's different from both of the previous use cases. I'll just go into the website and start showing some of the data there. And the goal here is to demonstrate that the system can connect easily to local data and in real time do the validation of comparing what we are supplying with what's being measured. So for instance, here for water temperature, you can see that, just zoom in here a little bit. All right. So the black line is a sensor that is currently in the field. So the last value that was measured was just a few moments ago, and it's in real time. It's being, you not only get the signal, but you also get the forecast. In this case, we are supplying 3 forecasts. It's for water temperature, one for it gives you sort of an ensemble of a good estimate, the higher estimate, lower, and the average that we are expecting. As you can see, so the system is continually under validation. This is the same for turbidity. Turbidity here is a bit more complicated to model, and I'll show in just a moment exactly why. But even so, you can see that we have some good results. Down here is turbidity via satellite, which of course, again, this is a public data set, so the resolution is not as good as what we would need. And the final example that we have here is of the report. So I've mentioned reports and report service 1 or 2 times. So reports are generated on demand or every day, every hour. It depends on how the system is configured. And you can look at them here in the website, or you can receive them by email. So you don't even need to come to the website. I'll just put this one in presentation mode so we can just have a quick look at it. So you can make them as complicated as you want. It's actually done with Excel. So you just create a template, and then it gets filled up with data by the system with the latest data, depending on the time frame that you want to create the report for. Here. Of course, it also has alarms. So in their case, in the case of Aquinova, they are worried, of course, with water temperature, also with turbidity. And wave power is relevant in the sense that it's directly linked to turbidity. Wind speed is just a matter of keeping the tars safe on top of the tanks. And the sea level is a problem that they have because they need to pump a lot of water, which is one of the points that we are also trying to apply the platform to. So if I come here into measure data, or better yet, let me just start here by showing here in waves to see exactly what the pumping issues are. So Aquinova is located here. So these are the tanks, and they have a huge outfall that takes water from over here, which is in the middle of the Atlantic almost, and acquires data. It acquires water through this huge pumping well that has 6, I believe, pumps, huge pumps that then give water to the beginning of the system, and everything from here on, I think it's just by gravity. so it circulates all over all of the tank. So as you can imagine, the variation of the level in the pumping well translates very quickly to euros, because the lower the water is, the more energy you need to spend to put it out. And so even though the outfall has the level of the whole Atlantic, you actually get the tide here. And if you start pumping, you can even make the well level go lower. So here in measured data, this is a good example of how the platform can connect to the SCADA system of the installation. So these are the levels in the current level in the well. You also get data from chlorine and O2. You also get the power and the pumps. So we are currently working with them to try and minimize the amount of energy that you need to spend to keep the constant flow that they need for the aquaculture. The final slide I have here is about waves. And just to show you again the concept of validation. So for them, waves is not significant in the sense that it can mess with their cages or with how they are located. It's an indirect measure of temperature, but it's a good location to show this example, because there is a measurement buoy a bit up north. So these are the results that we are giving them. The black line is the measured data, and the blue line is the forecast. We had quite some waves in the last week here in Portugal. There was a bit of a storm, and so they had this data 3-4 days in advance. This here is the same but for peak period, so you can relate all of this also to wave power, and the final one is the wave direction. So all of this again it's always being validated. Validation here runs in real time. Here it's the model, the higher I think this one is the low resolution model just running, but there's a high resolution one nested into it. And so this dashboard is continuously updated and delivered to them. So should we do another Mentimeter? There's just one more demo left. Or should I?
Just a second. We can have the Mentimeter for these two demo. So for Bantry Bay and Aquinova. The set of question is the same of before. So we would like to know, what do you think of this demo? Well, I see that it's quite interesting to see that some people are voting that the employed visualization do not cover their needs. So it would be nice later in the Q&A to discuss about that. Next, we would like to know how much money per year do you spend to receive or measure this information if you use the information presented in both demo. And next. We would like to know how much money per year would you be willing to pay for the HiSea service that Pedro presented. I saw that there are no answers coming in. So I am assuming the slide is stuck again. You can maybe answer in the chat or in the Q&A box in GoToWebinar. And again, this was the last question for this round of demonstration. So Pedro, you can go ahead.
Okay, so let me just reopen the website. So the demo is already going quite long. So there's just one more site that we would like to demonstrate, which is here HiSea PVL. So again, this is one of a project that we have at Hidromod, and we decided to try and apply the HiSea platform to it to see the added value that it would bring. So PVL is aquaculture in the south of Portugal, and there are some differences to the Aquinova that we were showing because it's in a tidal area. So it's located in here in the tidal zone. So unlike Aquinova, which they created their own tidal area by drilling by creating the pumping well. Here, the inflow of water that goes into the tanks is affected by tide directly.
HiSea platform instead of the one for this demo.
Sorry. So here in the intake of water, they are affected by tide. So this is tide coming in and going out, and also of course by the tide level. Water quality is not it's not too much of an issue here, but let me just check here. So here, of course, we also have this is just a model of the current, but also of the water temperature. So this is a finer scale model that is being executed inside the platform to provide these results to this area. The point that we are working with them is related here to pumping, and it's quite an interesting problem. Let me just increase here the range of the chart, like put something like 20 days to stretch out the data. So you see, let me just, my screen is a bit small here. So the black line, this one here with the dots, is the sensor that is located in the place where they are pumping water into the first tank. The red line is the tide forecast, and this dotted line here is the level in the first tank. So you can see that there are some areas where when the tide is coming in, there is really no need to have the pump turned on. So you could actually turn off the pump between this point and that point. And also up here, you have the, I don't know the English word, but in Portuguese is estofo de maré, which is when it starts turning, which is also a point where you can actually turn off your pump. So repeated this along many tide cycles, and you could have significant savings in water. I'll just show a quick slide about that. up here. So if the pump, you can pretty much have the pump turned on from here to here, then have it turned on in this area, and have a stop time a bit earlier than you are getting, because you're not getting much water in, and you are pretty much just wasting energy. So this is another point that we are currently trying to apply the platform to help making these gains. The rest that we have here is just showing again that we can gather multiple data sources. In this case is weather data. So it's gathering ICON, GFS5, also just local observations, and again everything is continuously validated. So you can very easily mix all of these data into the dashboard and let it run, or you can also export it as a report. So most of the functionalities have already been shown, but this again is the same. So the report gets produced daily, and you can either receive it on your email or come and see it here in the platform. So having said that, I think my demonstration is over. I think we have one more Mentimeter, and thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Pedro. Yeah, we can move again to Mentimeter. This time we have more general questions on the platform itself. So the first one is related about the HiSea platform. We would like to know if you find the platform easy to use, if the service fits your activities, and if you believe that it can improve operation efficiency. Next, we would like to know which services are relevant to you. You can vote among these four options that we saw, the four demos that Pedro presented. Okay. Again, we would like to know if you or your company would like to pay for the services that have been presented, for example, subscription or ad hoc. I do not see any answers coming in, so it would be nice to know if the presentation is stuck again. So maybe since the slides are stuck, so I will give the floor to Julie and double check what's happening in the presentation, and maybe we can go to the last round of Mentimeter at the end of the Q&A. Thanks a lot for voting.
Yeah, maybe we can ask those questions in this session in the round table. So hi, I'm Julie, everybody, and thanks for joining us this morning. So you can type any questions you like into the question section. We do have a question just to get us started from Josias, who asked if the platform would be fully available for African countries, and would the resolution be the same as for European countries? So perhaps Pedro, you might be able to answer that.
Hi. The platform for sure will be. The data that is there, I'm not exactly sure exactly what is the coverage. I know that there are a lot of models in the Atlantic. If we go to other areas, I'm not exactly sure, but the platform itself, for sure, it will be available.
Okay, so maybe okay, it's your turn, people, to ask questions or to give comments. So maybe I noticed in the Mentimeter, never say that word, there was some kind of a 50-50 on whether the platform would cover your needs. So my question to you is, what needs do you think are missing from the demonstrations you saw this morning? If there's anyone, you can either text, or perhaps there's a way to raise your hand. Okay. I don't know how to give access actually to, I'm sure that is for the organizers. Let me see.
Julia, I think there is someone.
Yeah, I see them.
Who is...
I see them. Can you give them speaker access, or can I do it?
I just noticed a few people who raised their hands, but I think they've lowered their hands already. So.
Okay. Anyone else would like to raise their hands? Don't be shy. Okay, maybe, maybe I'll ask Nikos, what does he think of the, from Salonda, what does he think of their demonstration and on their sites? Does it cover your needs? Just to get the ball rolling.
Yes, I think we're going to a direction in which we can use other types of information different from in situ sensors in order to get data. And this is very interesting. If we can avoid paying for the instruments to install them inside and use either satellite data and high accuracy models that comes from the satellite data and remote sensing, and get the same type of information with a high accuracy, this is going to be of great value for us producers. I also think that we have a tool that the tool that Pedro showed us, that is very flexible, and it can be customized to the needs of each end user, and provide real-time information about what is happening, what was the what are the values of the data today, and also we can look back at history and we can compare history, and also we can see forecast. We were not ready today to show a lot of forecasts, but Pedro showed the wind and the wave forecasts in the Portugal cases, and we can have this data also for Greece. And this is going to be also a very helpful tool to go to click on the site that you want and see the forecast on that site, which is information that are not existing today. And all of this will come without having in situ sensors. I think this is of great value.
Yeah, no, I agree, because in situ sensors, you know, well, they're expensive for individual companies to, especially if you're a small producer, to install and maintain and know how to use the data, really, I suppose. So yeah, so does anyone have any comments out there? Is everybody happy? Let's see, oh, hang on now, we have a hand raised for 31 minutes. I apologize. Now, oh God, sorry, I think I unraised your hand. So try again, perhaps. Okay.
There was a raised hand again, but it's again gone.
Yeah, I think it's from Miles Mulligan.
Okay. Can someone give him speaker access?
Yes,
We can
now
hear us.
it's open, the microphone.
Okay. So Miles, if you want to ask your question.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Thanks. I just here trying to. The other one where you're doing that begins with M, it's disappeared and I can't get to it, and you can't answer the questions on it, and.
Oh, the Metimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Anna was trying to fix that, because some of the questions got stuck. So, which is a bit of a shame, actually, because it'd be nice to know what people thought. It's kind of a good system. Actually, Anna, do you have access to the results that you can show here? Is that something you can do?
Hi, yes, I can do that. And I saw that the Mentimeter is not working if I go in presentation mode. So I will keep it not in presentation mode, like this. But I believe that now if we go on the slides, it should be working. We can give it a try.
Okay, right. So for the, okay.
Right, so yeah. All right, okay.
Okay, so these are the results.
Yes.
Okay.
And I see that people are still voting on this slide.
Okay, and can you skip to the next one?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, so I guess this question, it's oh yeah, here we go. So we have would your company be willing to pay for such services? We have a maybe, a yes, and we would love to have the data in our country. And then there's 2,500. I'm not sure unless it was of high value. 4 yeses there. So that's pretty positive.
Yeah, maybe it would be nice if the person who wrote maybe would like to raise your hand and explain a little bit more why he has some doubts on it.
Yeah. Don't be shy. Okay, and then there should be a participation, but at the end it should be free. So I guess, you know, if you want a site-specific, you know, just like information just for your site, like, would you be willing to pay for that? Or are you talking in general for like a whole area as well, you know, because, you know, resolution, very high resolution would give you excellent data and information about your site. So to me, it's it would be worth it. And there's always free data, as Pedro presented, that's available. That's low resolution. Anyone out there? Everyone's kind of quiet. So the results here, is there information missing, sorry, for you to use, that you could use? So we have pH, oxygen, currents data, and then there's a comment. Common legislation should be farmed and applied and received regularly on EU countries with a target to improve the production and quality of produced fish. Oxygen appears again, salinity, pH again, amount of chemicals in the water. So I should say as well that some of the demonstration sites are not fully completed yet. We have some time left in the project, like I know from Bantry, we only joined relatively recently, just a few months ago. So I'm quite impressed with the amount of work that they've done already on our bay here in Bantry. So so someone else has really high resolution data, and then we're back again to the money side, I suppose. You know, if you'd be willing to pay for this really high resolution data. So maybe go on to the next question, Anna.
Yeah.
To make my screen bigger. So I can, oops. Okay. Is there any other information that HiSea is missing for you to use? All right, we had that one. Do you think it's worth acquiring the HiSea services? If no, why? And we have a number of yeses and a maybe. And a yes, of course. 100% yes. So that's all very positive. Again, if the person who clicked maybe, you know, would like to explain, that would be good to know.
I see that there's another raised hand. Julia?
Okay, so if the raised hand could
Patricia Daly.
Hi.
Trish.
Hi, Julie.
Thanks for saving me. Listening to my own voice.
I don't know, you might not thank me. I'm actually going to, rather than giving an opinion on what I think I would or any producers might pay for the service, which, yeah, or the data, which is fantastic. I wonder, do the project partners have an idea of how much that data would be worth? You know, how much would it cost? How much does it cost to actually get that data onto the platform, keep it maintained, and yeah, keep it up to date? So, you know, rather than us kind of thinking about what will we put in, 500 a month, 1,000 a month, I have no idea.
And just I have a question for you. I'll let someone answer your question first, but because I know Trish works at a government agency, and do you think this would be something that governments would be willing to spend money on, like, you know, providing the service for their clients, which are the aquaculture producers of the world?
Okay,
So
well, I think I know, actually, I was because I was halfway through typing in an answer kind of related to that. I won't say that I can't say whether or not they would be willing. My opinion is that it should be something offered by government, but of course there's a cost. But I think that the cost could be incorporated into a license to operate as an aquaculture producer, and then, you know, that would mean also that, say, for shellfish producers, where the data may be different that you're looking for, and may not, you know, you could tie in what it is that is required depending on the species or the activity. You know, if you're in an oyster site, you might not want to know about waves, but you would absolutely want to know about turbidity and plankton and temperature. But if you were out in a finfish site a little bit further out, obviously the wave data, or even for mussel farms, is a lot more important. So yeah, I think that, you know, having a license to operate should also, if the government is giving you that license, they should also be supporting it through providing data in relation to that site.
Okay. It's interesting. And any one of our partners would like to comment on Tricia's question before I hijacked her, about how much you think it would probably cost? Like let's just pick a specific site. So farmer A wanted to get high resolution data in real time and forecast data. Do we have any ideas how much that would be?
Can we give the floor to Antoine to answer this question, as he has been working in this field?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Did you say Antoine?
Yes.
Okay. Antoine, are you there somewhere?
Dennis, can you use your...
Antoine from the audience, you mean, or?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if Antoine is prepared to do this.
Okay.
I'm trying to give the floor to him, but.
Okay,
Perhaps
so I can reflect a little bit on this, though it is not very clear. So it depends very much. I cannot also give a specific cost. It depends very much what is required by the user. Is it high resolution models? Is it a real-time operational? Is it only for legislation purpose, as you mentioned, just to get the permit? Is this area suitable, yes or not? Is it the suitability index that they are after? I mean, it depends very much on the requirements for each site. Of course, there are costs associated with the blocks. So remote sensing, whether it's high resolution, how will it cost? The model running up 24/7, how will they cost? And the validation and the effort behind that, that is something also that we have to take into account. So I'm sorry, I don't think that any of us can give you an exact number because it depends very much on the demands and the questions that are asked by the user. And then it is only a matter of looking at those details and calculating all of those efforts. Of course, we know like how much would it cost a partner, one of the partners, the day of one of the partners. But the components, that would differ. Which type of components that we have to add to answer your question. It is not, well, I know because I have been working in this field, it's not a lot, specifically when we are talking about licensing to use, like maintenance costs. So it is on those lines, but not really the setting up of the service as such, because then we are working setting up the service to feed your questions or to feed your purpose, to fit your purpose and feed to your question. So we have to take into account all of those components. The setting up of the service, that would be another cost. Only the maintenance and well, 24/7 service for you, that would be another story. That would be not that much, I think. That would be upon request action. So that would be minimum.
Okay, thank you, Gada. Okay, let's move on from cost. Can you skip to the next slide, Anna? The next answers that we have. This. Okay. Do you think it's worth acquiring the HiSea services? If no, why? Can you see the other? Sorry, my question panel is in my way. Can you see HiSea used in other organizations' sectors? Yes. There's another side to HiSea, in case you're not aware, that they have they've done a lot of work with ports already. So that's been done. So anyone else? There's just a yes. Maybe that was when one of the slides got stuck. So Anna, maybe if you move on. Oh no, hang on now. This is important in government and aquaculture industries. Yes, but I have asked, is there any reward for sharing of data, two-way communication? Okay, that's an interesting comment there. Is there any reward for sharing of data? I guess, does any one of our panelists want to take that up?
Well, currently we kind of have that, but it's close to the consortium members. So in the sense that we've built into the platform a way of metering what data is being used. So in a way, we know, say for instance, Argans is supplying high resolution satellite imagery. We're actually keeping track of how much of that data is being consumed in a given time period, say for instance a month. So if other so currently this is only goes to the consortium members, of course only they can contribute to it, but we can think of, so the mechanism is there, so we can think of ways that if you want to put data there and share it in some way, you maybe could get credits back on the platform, or even get paid to share the data there.
May I comment as a coordinator? So I would be very happy actually to say that during the lifetime of the project, we still have 1 year to go. So if you're interested in sharing the data, I think there are plenty of ways for benefiting if you are joining now. So let me be very clear. If you join now, if you are interested in sharing your data and having your site as a validation site, then this is the time to do it, because then the reward is really great, because we can start working directly within the project. This phase that I was saying, it is having cost, that would be partially included into the project costs, because that is more dissemination and exploitation actions. So I would encourage, if you are really interested in such a service and you are willing to share your data at this moment, I think it would be beneficial for both of us, both sides, to start working during the lifetime of the project. Then the whole benefit would be adjusting the system to your needs, validating the service to your needs, to your site with your data, and then the uptake afterwards would be just, I think, in the direction of maintenance and services after the project.
Okay. Yeah, and for us, we've anyone we've asked for data, be it government or private companies, they've given it to us because they realise the more data we have, the better the service will be, and yeah, and it improves the service. So it's a win-win, I think. So maybe the next slide, Anna. Have it there.
I think this was the last question we were having.
Okay. I think there's a raised hand. So whoever has raised their hand, or maybe Trish, you didn't take it down from the last time, or did you want to ask another question? Yeah, no, maybe it's just kind of left up there. So yeah, are there any more comments or any other kind of final?
Julia, I think we managed to unmute Antoine.
Okay.
Mangin. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Probably not. Sorry, Antoine. But go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes, Antoine.
Yes. Thank you very much to unmute me. Thank you. So there has been a question about the cost and the price of the service. So this is something which is always the same, well, not problem, but the same complexity for us to size a service and the price. And the idea is to have a kind of incremental cost. In fact, from previous studies, we know that some people will need to have access to the data for free, but it will be a basic data, let's say. So the best approach for us today, but thanks to React on that, the best approach could be to have a kind of incremental cost. So that is to say that you have, as Pedro said, in this service, there is a Copernicus data. Copernicus data is free, but it's not so easy to access sometimes. So maybe we can consider to have this type of data for free, accessible for free. Even if there is a maintenance cost behind for the tool, but providing that some more advanced services will be funded or supported. So we can, in fact, we did this in the previous project to have this incremental cost. So for free for very basic data, and then a license, a monthly license of some hundreds of euros per month, something like this. And then you can go to specific case in case you have a very sensitive area with a sensitive installation of cages. Then you can have something quite specific, and then it's more on a project-based approach, I would say. So it's another range of prices. I would say that the example presented by Pedro about the pumping station is very specific, for instance. So maybe in that type of cases, we have to go toward a kind of price of project light, like I would say. But for classical monitoring of cages and hub forecast or hub observation, maybe we have well, it's more regular service, which with a lower cost, I think. I hope
So
it is
Antoine,
clear.
you're
But,
saying
yeah.
that you know, there's obviously like a basic service with, you know, and then as you get more bespoke, you know, obviously there'll be a more of a cost involved, and that would really depend on what the requirements for the customer would be.
No, exactly. It's exactly as some TV channels. In fact, you pay, you don't pay, or for well, for newspaper on your smartphone, you don't pay for basic, and each time you want something specific, you have to pay a little bit more, and so you can have some different license. You see. So, but I think it is a good approach because it's also a good way of communicate with basic information. So if it is free, it is popular, and then you have a large audience, and then you can go to some specificities with some specific customers. But I would be happy to have any criticism of this approach, or we have to take advantage of all the people around attending to this webinar to get some feedback.
Yes, and if anyone wants to write a personal email to me afterwards for any comments, you know, all comments are welcome. Any information, we'd be glad to have your feedback. I'll put my email address in the questions portion, and I think we'll probably move to just the closing remarks to Milena. If there's no other burning issues out there.
Milena, can you unmute yourself?
Okay, yes, thank you. So I would like to invite you, everybody, to stay in touch with us. We have our emails, we have a website and social media. You can also register to our newsletter in our website. Thank you for joining and staying for the entire webinar. Have a wonderful day.
Robert?